reason why I am truly about people, especially living a life of play and joy and fun and adventure, is especially for young girls and boys like me who had to grow up really freaking fast. Play, fun, joy, and adventure wasn't their childhood all the time. So as adults, and whether or not you experienced something big as a child, you had to grow up really quick, or you were the child that got to have that because you had stability in the home, irrespective, for what purpose as adults do we choose to lose ourselves in the chaos and the busy, and that we forget that play, joy, fun, adventure is our sovereign right, and that's what we're here for. Like, that's what we're actually here for.
The podcast, is really about sharing stories for listeners to shift their perspective. Yes, they're going to go through their own grief and loss, but can they shift their perspective on things prior? Can they learn certain things from the stories of others? Because I think, my perspective was probably shifted. I was probably very much scared of death until my stepdad passed away in 2013. And over a 5-day period, it was the most beautiful 5 days. He battled thyroid cancer for 18 years.
Wow.
And basically, he had gone through a lot, and we all got called into the hospital. And, the doctor sat there with him. He'd been working with him for many years. He'd had many surgeries. And, the doctor said, look, wanted to call a family meeting so that I can explain to you, Pete, the things we've talked about, so that then the family can hear what we've talked about and your decision. And the decision was, okay, we can probably extend your life maybe another 6 months by putting you into a different facility and kind of being in long-term palliative care. Or, we can speed up the process a little bit, make sure that you aren't in pain, make sure that you kind of have got good quality of life, that you're not just sitting in a facility as a bit of a kind of shell of a person.
Yeah.
And he said, my decision, doc, I want to, choose my own destiny. And, that week we kind of, one night we went out and we brought in a carton of his favorite beers, into the hospital, into palliative care there. And we had fish and chips one night, and it was good. The grandkids were, playing on the floor, and we were joking and laughing, and, it was just such a beautiful week. And, I'm going to get teary here, but
Perfect.
sitting there holding his hand and feeling the strength pass from him to us.
Yes.
And, getting that, being in that experience where someone takes their last breath. And you're scared of it, right? Before it, you're scared of it. And then when it happens, yes, it's upsetting, but there was something beautiful about it as well, right? Something beautiful, that someone that's had an impact on your life, that's had an impact on the world, that has, kind of helped you put some of the pieces into your life. But what is the lesson you can learn from? And the lesson that I learned from that was, I sit there, and if anyone's listening, I was actually sitting watching the sun, or waiting for the sunrise to come up this morning at Norrie's Head at Cabarita. And I just thought, if today was the last day of your life, who would you want to spend it with?
Yeah.
What would you want to do? Right? Like, would you even sit there and go, I'm going to do something that's going to stress me. I'm going to do something that's going to give me anxiety. I'm going to do something that, all these different things. No, you wouldn't. You're not going to spend it with people that you don't have time for. Right? And I think, we need to start living our life one day at a time. Yes, we've got to think ahead, and we've got to think, there's things that kind of come from behind. But if we approach every day as if it was our last, right, we would give more time to the people that we love, right? We would spend more time on the things that we actually appreciate, doing the things that we actually want to do, rather than, spending our days on other people's expectations, other people's agendas, other people's bullshit, really, right?
Yeah.
And, like, I know there's many people around the world that say, like, Like I know Elon Musk says that, if you're in a meeting and you're just not getting anything from it, just walk out of it, right? Like it's an interesting thing because why do we put up with so much shit? We
Yep.
don't have to,
Yep.
right? Like
I
we
love
can change our perspective and we can just sit there and go, no, I deserve better. I want better.
Yeah.
And if today was my last day on earth, how do I want to remember it?
Oh, I love that, Steve. And can I just say thank you so much for sharing as well. I It's so beautiful, as you said, to experience someone's death. And especially in the way that you've just shared. And I often say to people, start with the end in mind. So, like, if you can get to there, I've got an incredible, process that I take people through where it's like, yeah, you're on your deathbed. Now what? Like looking
Mm,
back, what are your regrets? Like, what are you leaving behind? Who's with you? Who's, at your funeral? And if you're, bird's eye view and you're watching people, like, what are they saying?
yeah.
Who will be speaking and what kind of things are they gonna remember you by? I say to my often the women in business, I say, "Hey, ask your kids what do you think like mummy like if you could describe mummy, what would it be?" Now I actually we do what's called family meetings and we check in with our kids and with my hubby and we've created a life of time freedom. So we get to do this and even before we had this, we would do it anyway as we were starting to create and curate our time with what matters most, and that's each other and our family and first and foremost ourselves. Um, and we do these family meetings and we ask the kids like, "What do if you could describe mummy, what would it be?" And then we'd say the same with hubby. And we ask them to say it about themselves too. Now, what I love is a past version of me, my kids would have been like, "She worked a lot. She was never home. She was too busy." Right? Now my kids go, "She's so fun and she loves dress ups and she loves this and she loves this." Now, what I love about that, Steve, is it's not gonna be I changed all these people's lives first and foremost. It's not gonna be she wrote all these books or she did all these things and she created,
Mm,
multi-millions and yes, they're gonna maybe share that. Though if they're saying that at my funeral, that's what it's about.
mm,
A life
yep.
well lived. A life that created impact, sure. As somebody that as their sovereign right, they were happy and they had fun and there was play and there was joy and there was adventure. Now, you know why and I get so, like, fired up about it, Steve? The reason why I am truly about people, especially living a life of play and joy and fun and adventure, is especially for young girls and boys like me who had to grow up really freaking fast. Play, fun, joy, and adventure wasn't their childhood all the time. So, as adults, and whether or not you experienced something big as a child, you had to grow up really quick, or you were the child that got to have that because you had stability in the home, irrespective, for what purpose as adults do we choose to lose ourselves in the chaos and the busy, and that we forget that play, joy, fun, adventure is our sovereign right, and that's what we're here for. Like, that's what we're actually here for,
Yeah. Yep. And
you
it's
know? And
interesting because a lot of us sit there and you hear people saying, "Oh, I wonder what people are gonna say at my funeral," or "I wonder what my eulogy will be like," right? And we think we can't write our eulogy, but we can live our eulogy,
absolutely.
right? Because we can make the decisions and we can be very conscious around the actions, the decisions we take on a daily basis to
Exactly.
actually shape what that eulogy is gonna say.
Exactly. And it's like, again, you can wait for someone else to write it for you, or you can just write every day. Like, literally right now, you don't have to wait for a new year. You don't have to wait for a brand new Monday. Like, start anytime or create a new chapter anytime. Get a new book, get a new pen, and just create. And again, I can't unsee what we've seen now. I'm a testimony of it. Like, I'm now living a life far different to the one that I was living. So you can literally create, curate, and do whatever the F you wanna do with whatever time that you wish to choose that to do, with whoever, go wherever, and do that however you choose. Like, I just like, I wanna be really clear on that because my path before could have been totally just staying where I was, and I was just willing and brave enough and courageous enough to face the woman in the arena and the mirror and go, I wonder what else I could do. I wonder what, like, I talk about ikigai a lot. I've always wanted to serve people. I love helping people. I love, being able to do that. And so my whole life I was doing that. Just it was all leading me somewhere. So I invite anyone that's listening right now, what clues has your life given you? Like what ikigai, gems have been there all along? Like I invite you to consider what is the things that your friends always ask you for? Or like,
Mm.
you know, now, yes, we life coach now, we business mentor, we take people on the greatest journeys of self and spirit and lots of things. My whole life I was doing this. I was always the person that would sit and listen to people about their life and go, "Oh, have you thought about this?" I was doing this as a young, 7-year-old young girl.
Mm.
Just it was up to me to finally listen to the call and stop doing it as a, that's just what I do, right? And actually make it what I am actually here doing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So talk to me about, obviously, through the shift of perspective, through, the trauma, the grief, the loss, the experiences that you've been in as a caregiver, as a parent,
Yeah.
sadly losing a child as well. Talk to me about these days. You've shifted your perspective, you've shifted your life. What are your non-negotiables on a weekly and a daily basis that they have to happen for
Yeah.
you to, be aligned with the person, the mother, the wife, the sister, the daughter, whatever you want to
Mm.
be, and you want to be aligned with that
Yeah.
true version of yourself? What are those non-negotiables?
I love this, Steve. I always answer with these 3 things. 3 S's, I call them: stillness, spaciousness, and solitude. Now, when I say solitude, SOUL, solitude, to operate in the way that I do, at the capacity that I have, with the longevity that I wish to do it, I have to take care of me. In order for me to be the best, self to myself and to my inner child, right? In order for me to be the best partner, because I'll say that. Now, having, experienced many versions of our marriage, Dane and I, we've rebirthed us a number of times. And so now it's self first, it's my relationship second, it's my kids third. And I'll tell you why in a second. Um, so, that time for me to be that person and then be the mother and then serve the community and serve the world. Like I'm on this really big mission for what I'm here to do. And it's not what I'm here to do because I've chosen it. This is actually my soul's contract. I've been put here to do what I'm doing. Even if I didn't want to do it, I would have landed here anyway and, been doing it. I have to ensure that I have space, that I have capacity, I have stillness because I move so fast. And again, if earlier on in the episode, we talk about I was just running, I was just racing. And what was not happening was that ability to come into stillness. So I do a lot of practice around stillness to the point where a past version of me would have found that really scary because that would have meant facing herself. I can go into spaces and places where I'm completely silent and it is just heaven. And I can do that for hours if I wanted to, right? Again, when
Yep.
I say space, I'm talking everything's off. I'm not like I'll be grounded. Again, when I say stillness and spaciousness and then solitude, it is time for me. Now, if I don't do that, I cannot operate at the level that I do now. And I choose not to operate in that way at a level that isn't congruent with my values or congruent with what I'm here to do. I'm a far better operator, leader, guider, mentor, mother, wife, friend, daughter, all the labels that we choose. And then ultimately my sovereign being when I've taken the time for that. And again, you know, that is a practice that takes practice. Like you can't just, especially when you've been in the rat race for a long time, past version of me, I'd be on night duties and then day shifts and then, then I'd be out at the RAF base and then I'd be doing all the things. I was always running businesses on the side. You can't do that if you truly value those S's and those words.
Mm.
And then of course, just because again, it's really important. Sometimes it's actually not what I do, Steve, that is how we've arrived to here. It's what I don't do. And I don't waste my time. I don't spend it with people that I wouldn't want at my funeral. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't have these vices that everyone has. It's more what I don't do, Steve, why I do here, why I'm able to do what I do. And I think it's really important. People are looking at what more they can do. Stop doing the things that are stopping you.
Mm. Yep. Love
You
that.
know, I don't waste it scrolling. I'm so specific. My time, one of my mentors is Dan Martell. So he's actually all about time and buying back your time. He released a book called Buy Back Your Time. My time is actually one of my values. So important. Like, people
Mhm.
like, we've all got 24 hours in a day. And I'm like, let's change that notion. You've only got 24 hours in a day. What are you going to spend it doing? So, like, for me, time is of the essence. Time, you said it at the start, Steve. Our kids value time. So,
Yeah, they do.
my time as a mother is spent completely present. How can I do that? Going back to those 3 S's, I can do that completely present because I have solitude time. I am still and I have spaciousness in my calendar, in my head, in my heart, in my aura, in my place around me. You know, spaciousness, even I invite anyone listening to this, think about the space of the things that you have. I live a really minimalist life, Steve. So over the last 3.5 years, we've been just traveling Australia, traveling the world with little things. You don't need all the things that you think you need. Yeah.
It's clutter.
So clutter, get rid of stuff. If you have not used it, get rid of stuff. And I mean everything. Like, my mum often jokes and says, "Oh my gosh, when you come home, I feel like I've got to strap my bed down because you might get rid of that too." But it's a joke. Like, literally, if you don't need, like, if you're looking at any part of your home, your things, your belongings, your fridges, your drawers, if there's anything that doesn't need to be get it gone. Energy, get
Mm.
it gone.